Welcome to the Chicago Tribune's Bear Download. I'm Rich Campbell along with Dan Wiederer at Hallis Hall. And Dan, heard some big injury news for the Bears today on both sides of the ball. Cornerback Charles Tillman will miss the rest of the regular season with a triceps injury he suffered in Sunday's 21-19 loss to the Detroit Lions. And Jay Cutler is going to miss Sunday's game against the Baltimore Ravens with the high left ankle sprain. What are you making of the news today?
Just another quiet Monday here out at Hallis Hall. Obviously, two major setbacks for the Bears. A lot of conversation will center around how Mark Trestman handled Jay Cutler, Josh McCown in the quarterback situation on Sunday against the Lions, with Cutler clearly limited and obviously injuring himself and not able to finish that game against the Lions. And then you get this huge setback on the other side of the ball with a Pro Bowl corner, a guy in the final year of his contract, potentially playing his last game as a Bear yesterday, one of the hidden storylines of that. But now he's gone for the rest of the regular season, and because he's on IR with designation to return, it'll be 8 weeks before he'll be cleared to play in a game action, which means the Bears would not only have to qualify for the playoffs, they'd have to be in the conference semifinals, in basically the final four of the NFC for Tillman to return. So the odds of seeing Charles Tillman again this season seem pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, Zach Bowman is the next man up. He's played in place of Tillman a couple times this season as Tillman has battled that right knee injury. Yeah. No surgery right now for Tillman. He's just going to rest it and see how the diagnosis continues to evolve, which he said is an ongoing process. But let's get back to the offensive side of the ball and what Mark Trestman said about his decision to keep Jay Cutler in. He was even more steadfast in his decision to keep Cutler in because as he reviewed the tape, he said he saw Cutler's velocity where he wanted it, thought he could move in the pocket well enough, and he was still accurate. So, I mean, what do you make of what Trestman said about that?
I think whether you agree or disagree with how Mark Trestman handled the situation Sunday, and I happen to disagree, that you have to be very appreciative of the manner in which he explained it. He was candid, he was forthright with what his thought process was. At least we know what Mark Trestman was thinking. Now, whether most of Chicago would have done something different, that's a totally different discussion. Obviously, you lose Jay Cutler now for Week 11 against the Ravens, and now the huddle is again Josh McCown's, and you feel okay because McCown has shown in these last 3 games that the Bears have played, he's been needed in all of them to different extents, that he can run this offense, and so you feel a little bit comfortable there, but obviously you have to be scratching your head a little bit, seeing what we saw to Jay Cutler after halftime, after he rolled the ankle late in the second half, or late in the first half, and was already dealing with a groin injury, and clearly looked uncomfortable and unable to do some things, and even said in the post-game press conference Sunday evening that he asked Mark Trestman, do I look okay? And to me, that's sort of the red flag, the alarm bells for a coaching staff. When a player like Jay Cutler was as tough as he is, sort of is having his own second thoughts, maybe it's time for you to have some as well.
Right, and I feel sympathy for Mark Trestman in a situation like this because you have to balance doing right by your quarterback, a guy who you've evaluated for a long time and believe to be your best option, and versus, can he help you win, and is he doing any more harm? And Trestman eventually got to the point where he thought that McCown was going to give them the best chance to win, and I just think it's really delicate, and I think the best thing Trestman could do is just be open about the process, both with the fans, let them understand where he's coming from, but also with the people involved, McCown and Cutler, like he was talking to them on the sideline yesterday. I think you're building that type of trust, which he said establishes a foundation for growth going forward.
Mark Trestman is also a glass half full thinker, and so if it's 4th and 1 and you're inside your own territory, he thinks, how are we going to accomplish this?
That's true.
If your quarterback is hurt, while us up in the press box see Jay Cutler limping around, grabbing his groin on several occasions, clearly not the same guy mobility-wise, Mark Trestman sees the throws that Cutler is making, and he made several impressive throws here. It's not a black and white issue. It wasn't whether Cutler was too hurt to play at all or too healthy to be able to lead a drive. There was a lot of gray area in between, and in the gray area that Mark Trestman saw, he thought that Jay Cutler gave them the best option to win. That will be debated for the foreseeable future, particularly as it costs the Bears Cutler for at least 1 more week, and now he's week to week. We don't know when he'll be back, and we don't know whether this groin injury is going to sort of be impacted by the fact that now the left ankle's hurt, and there's all sorts of things that work here.
Right, and Mark Trestman, in evaluating the difference between winning and losing in Sunday's game, he doesn't point to Cutler necessarily in the second half. He points to just a few breakdowns along the way. You're talking about a missed 3rd and 1 and a missed 4th and 1 in the first half. A missed passing play that turned into an interception in the end zone. Those are the points that Mark Trestman is focusing on when he looks at why they lost yesterday. And in general, the offensive line's inability to block in the running game. Not necessarily what Cutler did on the second-to-last Bears drive, where Trestman really feels like if you're going to second-guess him, that would be the drive. Yeah. He's looking at other points in the game, and I agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it any way you want. In the long run, it all comes back to who your starting quarterback is. For this week and perhaps beyond, it will be Josh McCown again. This is the storyline we're after. It's the one we're going to stay on for a long time. And until we know what Jay Cutler's full health is and when he returns to 100%, it's going to be one of those head scratchers.
Yeah, and I think fans this week, because McCown has played so well the 3 times he's been called upon so far, will feel good about what the Bears can do offensively going into this Ravens game on Sunday.
Yeah, as we mentioned, he's been very good against the Redskins. He was very good in Green Bay, and obviously led the potentially game-tying touchdown drive against the Lions. They just couldn't get the conversion to send that game into overtime.
All right, more injuries and more storylines as always. For Dan Wiederer, I'm Rich Campbell. Stay tuned to ChicagoTribune.com all week, and we'll be back on Wednesday from Hallis Hall. See you next time.